Roll for Initiative by Prac. Chapter 4, Intruder. Thanks for getting here early, Twilight said as she took her seat at the end of the table. I have something to tell you before we begin. Rainbow Dash scoffed and rolled her eyes. If this is about snacks again, we all remember to bring something this time. There's plenty for every pony. Twilight shook her head. That's not it. Sighing heavily, she continued. I'm afraid I have some bad news. The other sounds at the table, the gentle scratching of paper being distributed, rustling of snack foods being poured into bowls, and collecting of dice tests rolled. Okay, Vic, I'd like to let you know, I've only test dice rolled once, and that was to make sure that I got all the ones out of my D20. As the rest of the group gave Twilight their undivided attention, Twilight took another breath and opened her mouth to speak, but she stopped when the kitchen door opened and Spike walked in, carrying an extra chair. As the ponies wasn't silent, he sat in the empty space at the table. What? He asked in response to the stares. Applejack smiled at him and said, You gonna be joining us tonight, Sir Cube? Spike waved the cloth dismissively as he turned his back to the table. No way! That game is dumb! It's just a bunch of talking! I so do love it when I come up with a fic that was written before a particular episode. It makes it funny. But now that I think about it, again, I love the episode. But I think this fic handled the idea better. It really emphasized what's fun about the game. And second, I kind of see Twilight more of being a DM. Loved it if... Actually, now that I think about it, my mind just got a better episode in head. Wouldn't it have been a lot more fun if, say, Shiny Armor was feeling kind of a little more distance from Twilight and got her and her friends to play D&D? It would, one, show the familial bonding of the game. Two, show a lot of friendships. Three, give Shining Armor time to shine. And four, we could have even had fun making Shining Armor into a killer DM, and Twilight getting a little upset that Shining Armor was doing what he used to do, thinking that he could win. This would have been a great message and a better way to show off what D&D is really all about, rather than what they did in Dungeons and Discards. I just think it... Well, I'm getting a Shining Armor fic head in my head. It's not leaving. I'm just thinking that would be a lot better. But yeah, it's still a lot of fun. I just think it could have been done better a lot of times. But I do enjoy the fact that Spike did play. I would have loved to have seen Twilight also bring out her mini and went, Spike! I thought I told you, stop trying to hide the fact that you play this game. It's just a bunch of talking. Besides, he added, turning his head toward the table again, it makes dragons look like a bunch of evil pony-eating monsters. Spike, can we talk, you and I? A little closer. Hey, dumbass! You do know there are good dragons in this game, right? They're called Metallics. They're great, they're awesome, they're really the type of dragons you aspire to. You know they exist, right? And you do know that not all chromatics are purely evil. Some of them can be written and played as good dragons, right? You know this, right, Spike? You do know this, you bloody idiot, right? It's like all the complaining about evil drow. Oh, please. I've seen so many good drow lately that the last time I've seen an evil one was on the Adventure Zone. Most of the time, if a person plays a drow, they're Drits. Or Drits-like. Or Drits wannabe. Hell, my DM brings out a drow rogue that sat in a corner. And he had a goofy voice. So yes, Spike. Yo's an idiot. I would like to think that after this fic, Spike did play O&O and realized just how fun this game is. And realized how awesome metallic dragons are. Metallics. Really awesome breed of dragons and need to show up more. Twice shook her head as Spike settled down in his corner. Anyway, about that bad news. Before you get to that, Randy interjected, I'll be expecting some ponies. She motioned towards the empty chair. Actually, see, that's the bad news. You see, I got a letter from Princess Celestia yesterday. Piggy guessed, is she the one gonna be joining us? How's that bad? Does she know how to play? It would be bad if she didn't. But we could teach her, and I could throw a party to celebrate. We could have dice-shaped balloons, and the cake could be a big tasty copy of our character sheet, and then we could play some fun new games like Pin the Tail on the Shambling Horror. Staring at Pinky through narrowed eyes, Twilight said, Are you done? Pinky nodded. To answer your question, no, it won't be Princess Celestia. Oh, it's gonna be Princess Luna. I don't get it, Applejack said after a moment of silence. What's that problem? Well, you spent time with the princesses before. Actually, I'm not even sure what the problem's gonna be, Twilight said, rubbing the back of her head. As I was saying, I got a letter from Princess Celestia telling me Luna would be joining us. The letter appeared in a purple flash. She said she tried to talk Luna out of it, but she wouldn't listen. That does sound bad, Fluttershy muttered. Rainbow made a show of groaning, leaned back in her chair. Ugh, are we gonna have to teach her how to play? Twilight's eyes flicked across the letter, moving over her head. No, apparently she has experience. Well, that's good. Well, yeah. Applejack says he poured baked apple chips into a bowl. I reckon they'll speed things up. But I gotta wonder what she learned to play. She ain't been back from the moon all that long. And I'm pretty sure he didn't have games like this 1,000 years ago. Well, actually, Applejack, believe it or not, I've been watching this one YouTube channel that has actually talked about similar games to tabletop role-playing games that have been going as far back as the medieval times, and even the Renaissance era. It's so cool. Actually, Celestia's letter answers that question, Twilight said as the parchment vanished. After returning from the moon, Luna was sequestered in the castle for several months while she regained her strength. During that time, she learned to play from some of the guards, one of whom was my own brother. You still plays after all these years? Rarity asked. Rainbow cut off Twilight's reply. Forget about that. At least doesn't ask him what's wrong with Princess Luna joining our game. I already did that, Twilight said. He sent me a letter back, but all it said was, my condolences. Sorry, sis, but you're on your own. Oh dear. Flashlight shrank back further into her seat. Okay. This can mean only a few things. 1. Min-maxer. 2. Luna's a that guy. 3. No, those 2 are just horrible. 3. She has main character syndrome. Rainbow learned fire back to her chair, tilting its legs until the only thing holding it up was the soft beating of her wings. If no pony will tell us what's wrong, I say we forget about it. I mean, what's the worst can happen? Her character dies and she turns back to Nightmare Moon? Fluttershy sank so far in her chair, she might as well have been trying to hide under it. Elzac and Rarity went wide-eyed in shock. The color drained from Twilight's face, and even Pinky looked uncharacteristically pensive. The awkward silence was shattered by a thunderous noise of a hoof striking the floor. Fluttershy tried to dive under her chair, only to find that Pinkie Pie had beaten her there. Twilight, Applejack, and Rarity all jumped up and stared at the door, while Rainbow's wings locked up in her chair came crashing down to the floor. Spike rolled his eyes and stood up. Jeez, you guys! It was just some pony knocking. The ponies barely decided to pick themselves up when he opened the door. Hey, Princess Luna, come on in! Oh, thank you, Spike, Luna said as she stepped through the door, ducking to avoid banging her horn on the frame. Once inside, she stood to her full height and looked around the room. Aha! She exclaimed upon spying Twilight and her friends sitting around the table. One seemed to be missing, though. It's a pleasure to see you all again. But, tell me, where's Fluttershy? Annie! Pinky reached down and grabbed Fluttershy from beneath her seat. You're going to hide. You should hide in your own chair. But you were already under mine. No excuses, young filly. Now go hide in your own chair, Pinky said, pointing to the empty space between the seat to her right. Young, over here. Oh, never mind. Fluttershy was half concealed when Twilight's magic grabbed her tail and pulled her back out. No hiding, said the table. Her ears flat and lip quivering. Fluttershy climbed onto the chair, whimpering all the while. There. Twilight said, now, let's get organized. We saved you a seat, Princess Luna. Grinning maniacally, Luna trotted over to the table with a metal briefcase, held tightly in the grip of her magic, and plopped down on her seat. She dropped the heavy case onto the table, sending loose the dice and papers flying. A series of clicks echoed throughout the library as she opened a series of magical locks and disabled its traps. Geez, and I thought my little brother went over the top with a folder. Now, you see, it's just crazy. Some people go so far to putting all their character sheets into one place. Personally, I have all my character sheets not only done on D&D Beyond, but I have it saved onto my laptop. And yes, I made character sheets for the main 6. And yes, I made character sheets for the main 6 from Fall of Starfleet. No, I'm not insane. Oh, and I made 5th edition character sheets for Welcome to the Show, Brony D&D. Princess Luna. Just no while we're playing, please. Morlock disengaged as the others collected dice from the floor. Right, Luna. Twilight paused for a moment to restack her papers. We need to know how experienced you are. I mean, you haven't been playing very long, and I had to figure out how much you can handle. The final lock on the briefcase snapped open, and the lid rose with a hiss. Inside, there was a stack of papers and a bag of dice. As you can see, Luna said, I have plenty of experience. Really? Applejack shouted as she looked at the pile of laminated character sheets. How many of those have you played so far? Out of them, of course. Piggy appeared over Luna's shoulder. Wow, you must die as much as Dassy if you got through all those since you got back. Luna scoffed. I'll have you know, none of my characters have ever perished. I bet you use a different character for every game, right? Ravel said. Also not true. I've used each of these on many occasions, Luna answered, beaming as she looked around the table. Excuse me a second. Hey, little brother. Princess Luna's bringing out a whole bunch of character sheets for different scenarios with characters that never died and has a whole slew of them packed into a tight little location. That doesn't sound familiar at all, does it, little brother?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. How many folders is it? 1, 2,
3.
And one is stored on the computer, one is stored stored outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought as much. Go back to your little den, little brother. Go. Shoot. Do you find it odd that he's a dragon, yet you still hold power over him? Yeah, druid magic, Trixie, remember? Also, I want to point out that he's also probably played multiple different games, and oh look, is that called a Cthulhu character sheet? Twilight held up a hoof. Wait a second. You only been back a short time, so how did you manage to use that many characters? By playing nearly every night, of course! Luna picked up the stack of papers, started rifling through them. Now, which one to use? Every night? Twilight mumbled. I think I'm starting to see what Shining Slayer meant. Luna's ears perked at the mention of his name. Shining Armor has told you of his games, has he? Tis only natural, of course. Now he should regale his sister with grand tales of her epic adventures. Well, what did he tell you in the letter he spoke of? Twilight's ears fell as she looked around the table at her friends. All of them were fidgeting nervously. With a forced shaky chuckle, she said, "Oh, he was just talking about how much he's missed playing with you since he moved to the Crystal Empire." Luna put a hoof to her chin and allowed a few seconds to pass in thoughtful silence before responding, "Yes, you're quite right. I will rectify this inequity tomorrow night by visiting him at his new home to continue our previous game. Perhaps Cadence would wish to join us as well." Twilight tapped on the table to get everybody's attention. "I think that's enough chit-chat for now. We should get started, Luna. Let's Another knock on the door interrupted her. A dangerous growl started to build Twilight's throat as Luna bounded over her chair and tried to the door. "Don't be alarmed. 'Tis only my contribution to the night's refreshments." She opened the door and stepped aside as a dozen ponies walked in. "Make way for Prince Luli." I can't believe that happened. "Neither can Turksy. Turksy didn't even think we had enough money to afford a Disney reference." Yeah, speaking of which, we gotta get back into my little brother's stockpile. The first one set up a folding chair near the kitchen door, and the rest laid a variety of excited salads, souffles, pies, and puddings on top of it. Luna tried back to the others as the servers departed. "There, now we no longer need these cheap snacks." She snatched up the various bowls, as well as the cake of cupcakes that Pinkie had provided her magical aura. The rest of the group looked on in stunned silence, but Pinkie recovered when Luna started tipping the bowls of trays over the trash can. "Not the cookies!" she screamed as she bolted towards the impending stack aside. Luna turned around to see who would yell, drawing her attention away from the sight of Pinkie Pie catching the treats in her mouth. With a shrug, she set the unburned dishes on the kitchen counter and returned to the table. She looked around the table and noted Pinkie's absence. Before she commented on it, a belch from the kitchen drew her attention away. No pony was there. Luna turned back to the table and found that Pinkie had reappeared, her mouth ringed with crumbs. She grinned at Luna, then licked the crumbs away. With the moment they entered her mouth, her face turned green, and forced herself a hoof into her own mouth. "Shall we start now?" Twilight said, just loud enough to be heard through her face's attempt to merge itself at the table. "But of course," Luna said as he sipped hot tea from Celestia's cups. "Okay," Twilight said slowly, regaining her composure. "We need to know what class you're playing. Do you want to make a new character or use an old one that's level 10? Luna picked up the pile and started looking through it. "To expedite the process, I shall use an existing character." "Okay, I recommend using a rogue since the party currently doesn't have one," Twilight said, prompting a glower from Rainbow and a relieved sigh from Fluttershy. Luna pulled a sheet from the pile. "I do have a character with 10 levels in rogue." "Great, let's go with that one," Twilight said over screen. "Now, when we left off, you walked into the final chamber of a forgotten tomb and encountered the King of the Wendigos." "Welcome," the Wendigo hissed. The voice didn't come from her directly. Instead, spoke through moments of air whipping around its chamber. "I have been expecting you." It stood up from its icy throne, snaked through the air towards the adventurers. Halfway there, it stopped and rose up towards the ceiling. A wall of ice formed behind the ponies. Around the wall, gusts of wind crashed together to form a harsh laugh as the other currents whipped past their ears. "Now, by my master's command, you must die." "Master?" said the paladin. "Who exactly is this master?" "Die, knave!" shouted a red alicorn, and not been among the party only seconds prior. The undulating, gleaming, silvery locks of Ramel mane parted to expose her horn, a beam of light spewing forth from it. "What?" cried Twilight. She stood up and stepped a forehoof on the table. "No way! That absolutely did not happen!" "Do not be such a poor sport, Twilight Sparkle," said Luna, grinning. The rest of the group faced up in unison. "I'm not being a poor sport. Your character isn't even there yet, and she's a rogue, not a sorceress." Luna waved a hoof dismissively. "Of course she is. She does indeed have 10 levels of rogue, but she also has 12 levels of sorceress." "Luna, this is a 10th level game. You can't use a 22nd level character!" The coat bristling, Luna stood up. You approved my character, did you not? Twilight cringed slightly, but held her ground. Yes, but you weren't clear about what that character was. Narrowing her eyes, Luna said, Are you calling me a liar, Twilight Sparkle? No, of course not. Good, that is to resume the game. Luna sat down, once again smiling. Twilight also sat back down, putting her screen back in place. She restarted the game. Alright, now the new party member has not been introduced yet. And since that tag could have happened, let's go back to what the Wendigo King was saying. Luna narrowed her eyes again. Are you calling my character a liar, Twilight sparkled. This time Twilight joined the rest of the group and they're singing her eyes face off. By the way, Luna added, my character is 29th level, not 22nd. So he has 7 levels of fighter. Oh god, she is that guy! Maybe I should get Dana Drake on the line. Let's see. Trixie, do we have the other D&D bad stories guys on speed dial? No, Trixie's pretty positive we couldn't get their numbers. Great! As the Wendigo King wheeled for the Alicorn's attack, he turned to face the rest of the group. Greeting to the fair adventurers. I am Nightshade. I have been traveling amongst you for some time, even from thy vision by my skills in the art of stealth. Seriously? Said Holy Roller. Yes. Hello, sisters, quite right, Holy Lighthouse said. Your story does strain the bands of credibility a mat. Do you mind that strange accent you sometimes fall into, Sister Light? Holy teased, poking her in the side. Nice to say, step forward and looked at each of them in the eye. Why dost thou doubt my claims? The paladin and the cleric both recoiled from the Alicorn's glare, but were spared for further argument when the Wendigo rejoined the battle. The party drew weapons and rushed in, but Nice desperately held back. The paladin and cleric both recoiled under the Alicorn's glare, but were spared from further argument when the Wendigo rejoined the battle. The party drew their weapons and rushed in, but Nightshade deliberately held back. Sorely was the first to act. A stream of flame lanced from her horn and swathed over the monster. So you cannot win, the wind whispered as the Wendigo swooped down and touched Swirly, casing her in a block of ice. With the Wendigo so close to the ground, the rest of the party was able to make their moves. Holy Roller used her mace to shatter the ice imprisoning Swirly, who, thanks to her own protection spell, was not infected by a brief exposure to extreme cold. Crusher and Lighthouse both struck solid blows, but they hardly faced the enemy. Noble Gem couldn't get close enough to do anything but play her lute. Nightshade laughed their efforts. Come on! Thus could do better than that! I could defeat this pathetic beast in my sleep! While commentary drew grumbles from the other adventurers, it also drew the Wendigo's attention. After suffering another direct hit from Swirly's fire magic, it slipped away from melee and engaged Nightshade, drawing upon a mysterious power. Was it not existed until that moment, it could not be detected or destroyed by any means, to instantly triple its strength. Foolish creature! She yelled as the Indigo approached. Thou hast entered the range of my attacks! The wire-like strands of her remains sprang forth and lashed out at the enemy. Twilight opened her mouth to yell at Luna, but bit her tongue. After taking a moment to compose herself, she said, Let me see your character sheet for a moment, please. Luna nodded, and Twilight managed to snatch the paper. Her eyes scanned over, her scowl deepened. You have a leprosy proficiency for your main. Luna nodded again, smiling. It has an attack bonus of 33, another nod, and you don't carry any other weapons. Correct? Twilight buried her face in her hose as she reclaimed her seat. May I finally roll my attack now? Whatever. As Luna's magic grit the dice, he added, and after that, I'll take my head accent as well. Nightshade's mane became a streak of gleaming silver and slashed across the Wendigo King. It tried to retaliate, but the Alicorn pressed their advantage, glancing her metal hair back and forth across its body until finally the monster fell to the floor defeated. The wind in the room whispered once more, You think you have won, but you know what? Not your face. This is but the beginning, for my master has risen. None of you may face the might of. Nightshade's mane went back and forth again, split the monster in half. As its body dissipated, the two halves of its cloven crown fell to the floor and shattered. The wind in the chamber stopped. Hing! Swirly cried. What were you thinking? We might have needed that new first thing I was about to say. Yeah, Nightshade, what gives? Old Gem said. It would take you to it would be a waste of time. Nightshade replied. Come now, we have other foes to fight with. Holy Roller sighed. Doesn't matter now. It's already done. Let's collect the spoils of our victory and go back to the temple. Nightshade's magic snatched up all the treasure in the room at once. It dipped into her saddlebag of holding. Then tried into the door. Hey! What gives? Holy yelled. Stopping just outside the Wendigo's chamber, Nightshade said, Dost thou not recall that it was I who slew the beast? No, but we still helped. Swirly stepped forward and glared directly into Nightshade's eyes. Yeah! Are you planning to cut us out of the loot? I certainly hope not, Lighthouse said. I agree. Nobletown stamped a hoof on the icy floor for emphasis. Hogging the loot is not cool. All four turned to Crusher to see what he say. I really don't mind. As the other four face-offed again, Nightshade laughed. Ha ha ha! You see, it's fine, she said between chuckles. Besides, I'm only going to keep what I can use. You can all get the rest. Nightshade continued on her way back towards the exit, but the others lingered for a moment. Holly whispered to Light. She's a fire, a rogue, and sorceress. Think there's anything she can't use? Oh, nope. As the party traveled across the countryside, the land started to thaw around them, and by the time they reached the Temple of Trixie, the early summer climate had returned. The courtyard was a buzz of activity. On one side, the cobblestone path through the center, training dummies had been placed along the walls for target practice, while others were out in the open, being pummeled by acolyte monks. On the other side, students of less physical disciplines laid in the sunlight, reading books or listening to lectures from their seniors. The party walked along the path to the sanctuary, where rows of pews faced an ornate pulpit. It was behind stand a series of stained glass windows, each depicting one of Trixie's greatest deeds, including her defeat of Tarask, her conquest of Equestria's greatest water wheel, and... 5 voices rang out at once. Twilight! Grace sheepishly, Twilight said, Oops, got a little carried away there. Anyway, Little looked up from her bowl of salad. Who is this Trixie? She asked, bits of lettuce and other assorted vegetables still crunching beneath her teeth. Rainbow Dash groaned, but Rarity took pity on her and just reflected the question. It's a rather long story. You really needed to be there in order to understand it. The important thing to know is that there is a new goddess in the world named Trixie, and this is her temple. Twilight cleared her roof door and pressed on. You pass through the sanctuary, and the guards allow you to access the inner chambers. When you reach the high priest's office, you are ushered inside and find him behind his desk. Your Grace, said Holy Roller as he entered the room, you got some explaining to do. Shaking his head, a wan smile on his lips, the high priest looked up at the party as they arranged themselves in a semicircle around his desk and said, Well, I wasn't expecting to see you again. Swirl leaned in close and stamped her hoof on the mahogany desk, leaving a deep imprint of her horseshoe. I just bet you wasn't. She raised her hoof again, before she could bring it back down. It was wrapped in silver threads, pulled away from the desk by Nightshade's mane. Nightshade stepped forward. Thou hast much to answer for, fiend. First, thou bidst this blasphemous temple to a false god, and thou sent this group of amateur adventurers to face a foe they could not possibly defeat. Hey, we could have beaten it! Ignoring Noblegem's outburst, the high priest stared at Nightshade. What would you know? He barked. You are an outsider with no place in these events. Who are you supposed to be anyway? Very well. I shall tell thee thyself. I am Nightshade, ruler of all forests, destroyer of the 4 great Bondic cities, and slayer of King Sombra. What? Luna asked. Why are you all looking at me like this? Twilight sighed and rubbed the bridge of her nose, then looked at Luna. So in this game, they already killed King Sombra, so Nightshade could have possibly done that in this world. There's no conflict. Luna said, in my previous game, King Sombra became a lich when I killed him, so it makes sense that it happened after they killed his lesser form. Once more, the faces at the table performed a synchronized face hoof. Rainbow went the extra mile, smacked her face a few extra times for good measure. Let's King Sombra? Really? Who thought that was a good idea? No kidding, agreed Pinky from her new position next to the food table, voice muffled by the carrot cake stuff in her mouth. Regular old King Sombra was boring enough. Imagine how bad it would be if he was harder to kill. Pinky, dear, Rarity said. What are you too full to keep eating? Yep, can't eat another bite. Pinky answered right before shoving an entire pie into her mouth. Meanwhile, Twilight surreptitiously erased Let's King Sombra from her notes. The president lives to these, no doubt, the high priest said. However, even you are unprepared for the power that now rises in this land. Grinning, Nightshade pulled several locks of her hair together to form a spear. I think we've had enough of this. Wait! Lighthouse yelled as she threw herself between Nightshade and the priest. We might still need the information he possesses. Besides, there's no evil nature in him. Holy Roller stepped in between them and held out a hoof by a golden glow. It's true, he's not evil, but he is some underkind, some curse. Fine, Nightshade muttered, letting her hair fall limp. Then let it live for now, but I expect to get some useful information from him. Holy continued to scan the high priest. Actually, it looks like he can't tell us anything the one who cursed him doesn't want us knowing. Then he's useless! The spear flew to the top of Nightshade's head once more. No! The rest of the party shouted in unison. Crusher say we find source of curse and smash. Sora nodded. I agree with Crusher. Nightshade continued to brandish the spear. If you don't know where to look, it would be pointless. Killing him is a much more effective solution. Not necessarily, Holy Roller said. I can sense the curse is bonded to something else. It's somewhere in the southwest. It's probably that new great bandit city that was built recently, a guard said outside the door, who had conveniently overheard everything, but even more conveniently, had not bothered to try to stop the adventurers or get help when the life of the high priest was threatened. A new great bandit city, Nightshade exclaimed, her eyes glowing to match a grin. Come on, we must destroy it at once. Actually, assaulting a city would take too long for tonight. So I said, I know it's a little early, but this is the best point to stop, so we'll have to continue this next week. The clean up passed into a cold silence. My very attempt to speak by the top by a total shake of Twilight's head. The only constant noise was Selina's humming as he oversaw the servants, who came in to remove the leftovers from the feast he brought. Finally, they all stood at the door, ready to go. See you all at the same time next week, Twilight said. I'm looking forward to it, Luna said. This was the most fun I've had since Shining Armor moved to the Crystal Empire. Speaking of which, you did say you were going to visit him there tomorrow night, right? Indeed, I'll be bringing the other gods who played in our last game, that we might resume our adventure. As I opened the door to see him out, she said, I'll be sure he'll be thrilled to see you. See you all there. The darling night. Twilight called her friends over again. As we were all sitting at the tables began, I think we can all agree last night didn't go so well. Rarity scoffed. Darling, I think we can all agree that you just made the understatement of the year. Yeah, said Rainbow. It was completely ridiculous. Nobody else could get a word in or do anything with Luna around. Ah, a main character syndrome, that guy. Applejack scowled her beneath her Stetson, which was pulled lower than usual. Agreed. Well, this is going to keep happening. There's no point in even playing. I agree, muttered Fluttershy. Rainbow leaned back in her chair across her forelegs. And adding in that bandit city is just going to make things worse. Now she's all excited about coming back. That's going to make her more pushy than ever. Actually, girls, that's part of my plan. Twilight said most seriously. One way or another, Luna won't be a problem after next week. What do you have in mind? Rarity said. Well, to start with. Twilight was interrupted by bells from the next room. Later for you, Twilight! Spike yelled as he ran to the room. Twilight grabbed a scroll of her magic and unrolled it only to drop moments later. Her concentration shattered by a fit of raucous laughter. One by one, the others picked up the letter, joining the hysterics until the entire group was rolling around the floor, leaving the unfurled parchment laying on the table. Dear Twilight, I hate you. Shining Armor. So, my new college friends, decided to teach me how to play D&D. They first let me borrow a 3rd edition book that later on they let me keep. It's my first real player's handbook I own, and worn in rusted it is, it's still a cherished possession of mine. And they went through the different classes. The one that appealed to me the most was Druid. He told me it was similar to King Arthur, to Merlin. It was, you could age backwards, and told me some of the cool spells you could do. And, I'm an animal lover, so I became one. But I also mixed it up with elves so I can have some archery. First game I played, I messed around, fell in battle a little bit, but somebody got me back up, and I just enjoyed myself. Sometimes they would mess around and play in the college, but I mainly stayed with just playing with them at the college rather than following them to their home. Didn't know where they lived or not. But as all good things, it faded away. Fourth edition came, and I didn't really get into that. I did listen to an actual play, but being in a small town like I am, it was so hard to find anybody to play. It was hard to find anybody who was actually wanting to play, and my little brother felt the same. And while I still played one on one with my little brother, it just wasn't the same as playing with a big group of friends, you know? So while I kept playing and buying the books, I just kept it back in my head, wanting, waiting, until one day, a game store came to my house.